Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. I'm here with Dan Fraga. Fraga, boom! How's it going?
I'm doing great. I'm
Uh,
doing great. Happy Wednesday to you.
yeah, yeah. Happy Wednesday. It's only the middle of the week. I
Yay.
don't know. I don't know where you live, but it's freezing again. I
Yeah, I'm in Georgia, and the weather ebbs and flows, and right now we're in like the pollen season, so it's like nasty allergy time.
I work outside of construction, and this particular
Ooh,
job. There's no roof or anything like that. It is just freezing. I just come home. I just want to put on a blanket, drink coffee, and
do you
instantly.
get do they sell those heat pads
Yeah,
at your Walmart? Like you break them and shake them or
they
whatever, and
work for
then
like 10 minutes. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then you put your hands in your pocket. Your foreman's like, "What are your hands in your pocket?"
Oh, right,
Yeah.
right, right.
So we were talking before we went live. Uh, Dan and I met at Graham Nolan's cigar party in July. Like, for those of you who've been watching my channel for 2 days before my car accident. So there you go.
Yeah, that was it was the end of June in Garden State.
Oh, so 2 weeks before my 2 weeks. It was.
Yeah,
I'm thinking it was in July. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I met you. I met your son, and
yeah.
I remember
Harrison.
you had an injury at your back. You were like, "Forgive me for not getting up." You were.
Yeah, no, I had just had my spinal surgery the month before. So, and I had all these commitments, but I was like moving around like a old man.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me about it. Yeah. That one thing that happens as we get older is the pains, the injuries. I got an apprentice on my job. He's all like bright eyed, bushy tailed, and he's
Yeah,
running to help you. He sees me moving something. He's like such a good kid. And I was like,
that's
wait till I get
good.
your aid card. It's like, here's your aid card. Here's your back injury.
Yeah, yeah, no, and when you get older, all it takes it you lose things quicker, and the gains take twice as long to get half the results.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a crazy town.
You're younger than me. I'm 56.
Okay, I'm only 4 years behind you.
Oh, okay, okay. All
Yeah.
right. You look younger. You look
Oh,
younger.
thanks. Yeah, I can thank my mom for that.
So, oh wow, we got a bunch of comments. I've been ignoring the comments, just doing
Yeah.
the introductions. We got Devil Flyer Amendment.
What's
How you
up,
doing, Max?
Devil?
How's everybody? How's everybody?
Yeah.
Names I haven't seen: Ben 31 UK, Fragaboom, and I would be remiss in my duty if I didn't throw up the link to my own comic, which is on
Hero Tales.
Heroic Tales #2. It's about 55% done. Uh, it's gonna. I dare say it might even come out before I said it. It might be early.
Yeah, yeah, you're gonna
I
be
can't even
early.
talk. Just talking about how getting old, you can't remember. I can't remember basic words anymore. We
Yeah.
got Paul Coleman over here and Emily Kruger. How you
Hi,
doing?
Emily.
Hey, Maromi. I haven't seen you in a while.
Maromi. Hey, I love that guy.
Maromi in a while. Don Emeris is a new name. How you going? How you doing?
How you doing, Don?
If Zach Tan doesn't bless me, then I have a horrible, horrible day. Marcus, how you doing, Marcus? Tree,
Yeah.
another guy.
What's
Oh, I
up?
haven't
I
seen
got
you.
to hang out with Marcus at SC Comic Con. It was really
Oh,
cool.
you met him?
Oh, I've met Marcus several times. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
He's a joy to hang out with. He's got so many great stories.
yeah. He's like he's like my fact checker. I'll say something
Yeah,
I think is true, and he like politely, no, 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 no.
he knows where to go.
He knows, and he knows everybody.
Yeah.
Between going to school and going to Comic Cons, he knows everybody. That's right. You guys live together. I live together. You live nearby each other. I
I'm not
haven't.
sure. I'm not sure. I'm in Georgia, so I think he's up in the Carolinas.
Yes, yes, and I think I
Yeah.
skipped some. Oh, Smokey the Concat, Dan Sport.
That's my man.
Yeah, how you doing? Oh,
That's my
we
man.
got Jay Lee. Is this Jim
What's
Lee
up, Jay?
of Image
Nah,
Comics?
man, it's another Jay Lee. He's I've seen him on Twitter. He's a good dude.
Oh, Old Dirty Fatty, how you doing? Oh, geez, I'm getting a lot of people. Uh, Anthony Perone, how you doing, Anthony?
That's my man.
Okay, cool. Who needs words? Words are for the weak. Oh, okay, all right. I need words. I got to write comics. Without them, well, it's still beautiful art. Renzo is phenomenal. Buy the comic for the art, at least. so how you doing? I'm getting excited, and my words are coming out too fast, and I'm gonna be
Yeah.
with everything. So, what do you do for a living? Let's start at the beginning. Let's start at the basics. Let's pretend that there's people who don't know who you are.
I've had a really blessed career. In fact, I'm doing a keynote speech at Middle Georgia University on Friday,
Oh,
talking about this concept of the iron bar. And you know, it basically, like, an iron bar can be turned into nails, you know, and be worth about $10, or that iron bar can be turned into staples and be worth $100, or that same iron bar can be turned into medical equipment and be worth $100,000, right? But it's all the same iron bar. And so what when I look at what I have done over time as first a comic book artist, a comic book creator, fashion, you know, I worked in clothing design, I worked in printing, I worked in storyboards, I worked as a live action director, an animation director, I've designed album covers, art directed album covers. And so it's but what I realize is, at the core, everything is about storytelling and creating an experience for somebody. And, like, for me, um, it it came down to a feeling. Like, I remember them distinctly. You know, one of which was in 1986, when I got the Dark Knight #2 was the first Dark Knight I purchased. I didn't buy #1. I That cover didn't even catch my eye, but, like, that second cover with Batman grizzled, I stood there, and it's like you just kind of, like, time freezes. You know, you're just like, what, you know, you just, I can't describe the feeling other than that it's the one of the most wonderful feelings in the world. And so my whole life I've been trying to find it, not only, like, by seeking things out, like, you know, other art, like McFarlane's art when I was a kid did that for me, like the Hulk poster, and, like, a lot of those other images, Sam Keith, and even, like, Stephen Platt, those covers of Moon Knight. When I saw those, it was like, holy shit! I'd been a pro for like 4 years at that point, and I was like, this guy gives me that, like, that, what, you know, like, again, it's that feeling. And so I've always wanted to recreate it, and it's always through storytelling. That's it, you know. So at the end of the day, I manifest my imagination and tell stories.
see, I was going over your career because I'm a comic book guy, obviously.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you did directing. That's pretty cool too.
Oh yeah, yeah. I did second unit stuff. I did a lot of stuff with commercials, a lot of stunts and explosions and things. Anything, like, there was a Kelly Clarkson music video, like, anything that didn't have her in it, you know, her band. So, like, running shots of the car. We did a lot of water with the Phantom camera. And then I directed a few music videos, but then in animation, I directed 24 parts of the animated parts of what was it called? Something RJ Burger. Uh, Hard Times of RJ Burger. That's what
Yes,
it was called.
yeah.
The Hard Times of RJ Burger. So I did those, and that led to some work in animation, where I had directed 26 episodes of the Ricky Gervais Show for HBO. That took me over to a place called Bento Box, where they do Bob's Burgers and such. I worked in their development team for about a year, helping them develop new concepts and ideas, working on pilots. Then I went over to Mattel for about 6 years, where I was they call me the Swiss Army man, because at Mattel it was my job to be a supervising director on their projects, like the Monster High movies and the Ever After High movies and the webisodes and things like that, but also photo shoots or stop motion, YouTube content, those sort of things. So those were that was that. And uh, then I left directing, started focusing more on storyboards, you know, and I moved out here to the East Coast, worked on shows like Legacy, Doom Patrol, Stargirl, a lot of superhero shows out here.
You worked at, like, were you on the sets? Did you meet like the actors and everything, or
Before COVID, yeah. After COVID, there was like a little bit of a freeze, and then like I remember, this was so crazy. Leah Thompson, the
everybody's crushing the '80s? It was her.
yeah,
Oh my God.
she directed a couple of episodes of Stargirl during COVID, and I had to go to the studio, and we had to do this thing called the double negative, where they swap your nose, they test it, you wait 15 minutes, they swab it again, wait 15 minutes. If you get a double negative, you get a pass to go on the lot. So that's how stuff changed. But yeah, a lot of the time now it's just Zoom meetings and things like that. But for a while there, I couldn't draw. There was about 2.5 years where my tremors got really bad.
Tremors from what?
Well, that's why I had this spinal surgery, and I had something called canal stenosis, or severe canal stenosis, and what it is some people have it in their lower back, some people have it in their neck. I happen to have it in my neck. It's where your bone has abnormal growth in your vertebrae, and so my vertebrae was closing in on my spinal cord and pushing all the nerves out and causing like these sort of radiating tingles, and then my hands would be real shaky. But we didn't know what it was for a while until X-rays and MRIs and such. But they did a surgery, the one that the one that you and I had met like a month afterwards. It was called an ACDF, which is anterior cervical dissection fusion, where they go in through your neck.
Oh God.
And they grind out all the extra bone. They also have to take your discs out. So they took the three.
The interior is getting smaller. So I might. What do they have to dissect it?
Yeah, no. So they had to take the discs out.
Oh my God.
Then go up in and kind of root out around. And then the root all the stuff on the outside, which was like bone spurs and such. And then once that was all clean, they put cadaver bone in.
Oh my God.
To replace. So yeah, I've got dead people inside of me.
Yeah. Instead of seeing I see dead people, I am dead people. Oh my God.
Yeah. And then they
tires rotated. You're good for another 100,000 miles.
yeah. I'm good. I had them rotated and calibrated and such. But they put titanium in my throat and sewed me up.
You're making my neck hurt. I like a couple of maybe 2 weeks after I met you, I passed out while driving and accelerated.
How'd that happen? Were you just tired?
It was July 17th. It was 106 degrees at the airport while I was working, and I was working on the top of the building. And I don't know how familiar you are, but it's called a Q deck. The Q deck is like corrugated. It looks like a Kit Kat.
You can cook eggs on it.
Right. So it's just shiny steel, and we're drilling holes so like wires could pass through. So every 20 feet there would be a mark we would drill.
Meanwhile, you're cooking on a grill.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you're dying. And it was the day I was going to have Mark Miller on my channel, so I left work early.
Yeah.
Because I was like, because he could only talk at 5 o'clock because of the time difference. I was like,
he's Scotland, right?
So I dehydrated, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have lunch with my wife. My wife works out, so I didn't eat. And I just passed out while driving. And the funny thing is, I'm in an ambulance. What am I doing? I'm calling Mark Miller to tell him I'm sorry. I was out of my mind. You know what I mean? The people were laughing at me. You know?
No. I mean,
I'm talking about the emergency people. I was talking crazy. You know, I didn't realize I was taking pictures of myself, putting it on Twitter. I'm like kind of embarrassed, but literally I was like in shock. But the point is, they were monitoring me for surgery, but they didn't tell me how bad it was. So I wasn't in any pain. So my way of thinking, if you're not in pain, it's not bad, right?
Right.
You know? So I'm going home, and after like 2 days, I'm bored out of my mind. I can't work. So my neighbor's chopping down trees with the hatchet. So I'm like, nah, you need a chainsaw. So I go out in the backyard. I got my neck brace on. I got my chainsaw, cutting down, chopping everything out, you know. And then And then the next day I go to the specialist, and my wife is like, my asshole husband, he's this one. And she turned white. She goes, you have no idea how lucky you are. She showed me. It was all shattered. It was just all the tissue holding it around my spine. And she goes,
Holy crap.
if a piece could break, she goes, best case scenario is you die right away. She goes, worst case scenario, she goes, it's the same exact wound as a Superman, Christopher Reeves. She goes, you'll be perfect. And then all of a sudden, I literally just sat in this chair for like 5 months, just getting fatter and fatter. I just, the idea, dying don't scare me. We're all gonna die. But being paralyzed for 20 years before you die, that ain't happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought about that too, like because there were risks involved with my surgery, and I was thinking about the, neck down paraplegia, and being like, well, I can always draw with my face,
Right. Put pictures in your mouth, right?
Yeah, or just learn how to write better through dictation.
Stephen Hawking, right? Doesn't he look at the letters and stuff?
He did.
Yeah,
he used to.
So Jay Lee wants to know, do you have?
See, I can turn here. I can turn here. I'd say it's about 90%. Though every morning when I wake up, I feel sore, and have to do these sort of like stretches and stuff. I was worried too, man, and also the superstition had me worried. My surgery was on my mother's birthday.
Oh, God.
And the only reason, well, my best friend when I was 13 died on my mom's birthday, and then my stepdad's best friend died 2 years later on my mom's birthday. So we had this May 22nd specter. I was like, because my surgery was originally supposed to be in April, and then Dr. Johnston, something got moved and they had to move me down, and they were like, well, the next available is July. I was like, no, we got to get this done. I can't, I avoid whatever. It's superstitious, but whatever happens.
Is it I never heard of the condition before. Is it like a potentially fatal thing, or is it like a paralysis thing?
Well, canal stenosis. It's just abnormal bone growth. Osteoporosis is where it's dissolving, and stenosis is where it's growing, and that's where you get bone spurs. I have another condition in my right hand. They say I'm going to get in my left hand. It's called Viking's disease, or Dupuytren's contracture. If you see how there's like a hard sort of lump right there, versus this one, which isn't. If you look up Dupuytren's contracture, like this is as far as my ring finger can go back, where see this one I can do this one I can't move it past this point, and it's just a excess collagen or or whatever.
Someday when I get to know you better, I'll tell you how I broke that finger.
Oof. Yeah. But we're just a bunch of old guys. You want to see my scars?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
I came home the other day. My wife greets me. She works from home, so I get undressed to go in the shower, and my whole stomach is purple like grape jelly.
What?
Like, what's happened? What happened to your stomach? I don't even know. She goes, oh my God! Like she's checking me out and everything. And she's like, we should go to the doctor. I'm like, no, but that's just the way it is. Like I'll lean on something and push it with my whole body.
I don't know about that, man. But unless you went to like Willy Wonka's factory and ate one of them blueberry gum
that's
things,
it. I'm turning violet, but everything, I got a scar. I come home and I got like dried blood on my arm. I'm like, that's not work. That's just
that's the nature. I guess the nature of your work. I'm admiring all the stuff you got.
Oh yeah, I'm a board game freak too, and
yeah, I see that, but I'm talking about like your blaster and your Infinity Gauntlet and your shields.
This is Nick Fury's needle gun. This is the Shield ID badge.
That's
the
awesome.
Captain America shield, the Captain America. Right behind me is the Borg cube.
Oh, nice. The Borg, the Wii.
The woman. What is this sword? Is the Excalibur from the movie?
Oh, nice.
A mother box right there. Green Lantern.
Excellent. Yeah.
The key to hell from Sandman. I like Sandman back before I knew Neil Gaiman was a creep.
Yeah. Well,
I still like Sandman, guys. I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah,
not
you
gonna.
got it. I mean, we got to separate. Like, I'll
Yeah.
tell you this, man. My favorite comedy special ever is Bill Cosby himself. And obviously it got tarnished, you know, and but I'll still watch it and remove my like that
Yeah.
from it because it's so classic and so good, you know.
You got to remove the art from the artist, and I'm big into old Hollywood movies,
Oh yeah.
and then you hear about some of the horrible things that these like classic American actors, and you're like, but I still like this movie. Like
Yeah.
like what do I got to do before me and my wife are going to go to the movies? We got to interview like the gaffer and the director and everybody.
Right.
Sit
Yeah,
down.
no, you just go
There's
and
going to
see
be
the
somebody
movie.
in every movie that did something
Yeah.
horrible, you know.
Yeah.
So, we got everybody saying, yeah, everybody's now telling us their
What up,
ailments.
Prater?
Feel sorry, hey Prater.
Good to see
Glad you
him.
feel better. Woodrow.
Exactly. Shadow Punk gets it. That is great. Give us the
He's,
chocolate cake. Or Jeffrey.
I remember going to the dentist and talking to the dentist, to, the whole routine about the
Yeah.
dentist. Hey, Katie, did how you do?
Yeah.
When am I? You keep telling me I'm going to come on your channel. When are you going to invite me on, Katie? I got a comic to show. Dan's going to need a first alert break. There we go. Me and
Probably
Dan,
that's the fallen I can't get up. Yeah. I mean, they got better technologies now, you know,
a
for
permanent hard
that.
spot. Oh wow, Saudi Arabia.
Oh, damn, Maromi.
Yep.
If
You
you're
got
at Heroes, you got to show that to me. If you go to Heroes, dude, I want to see it.
you got a comic library in your house? Some person is saying.
Uh,
Oh,
no.
show him my comic library.
Yeah. No,
Oh, okay.
I've got comics in long boxes in my garage, but and I've got a spinner rack and like a bunch of stuff in my storage closet. But my biggest collection is my digital collection. I try to, you know, oh my goodness, that's beautiful.
Right behind me is Yancey.
Yancey Street, man, how cool.
Yeah, it was funny because when I bought this house, this whole thing was just like a dungeon. It's a tiny house, but this basement is the footprint of this whole house. But it was never used. It was never. So I sectioned it off, and I just remember like measuring, and
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 long boxes tall.
Yeah, six high, and then
that's great with a little bit of margin too at the top.
Yeah, and
how's is it climate controlled?
Yeah, I got 2 dehumidifiers, I got fire extinguishers, I got water detectors. I'm a construction guy, so
yeah. You would totally know what to do.
I hired an engineer to make sure that there was no water in the basement. So really, the only thing that scares me is a fire.
Right. Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? I'm not joking. Every once in a while, I'll wake up in the middle of the night smelling smoke. Remember when there were the Canadian fires and the whole West Coast, the whole East Coast smelled like fire? I kept waking up in the middle of the night.
When was that?
Canada was burning down. All the woods in Canada were on fire.
When was that?
I near Quebec, but all of New York just smelled like.
No, I'm saying when was that?
Oh, when was that? That was about a year ago. Like
I don't remember. I remember New York getting a bunch.
Yeah, but oh my god, I was waking up in the middle of the night, and then like I got the Ring, which is like the worst thing in the world. The Ring is good, but the alerts.
You mean the doorknob thing?
Yeah, is that?
Yeah, we got one too. And like I just. It's annoying. Like we have them all over the house, and like the one that like it does this whistling, or the one at the front door. You are being recorded.
Yeah. Oh yeah, my friend has that. I had to go drop off keys at his house.
Yeah.
You're being recorded. I almost shit my pants. Yeah. What was I was gonna say something. I forget.
Well, I'll tell you the other thing you might want to do, just in case, because you do have a little bit of a margin there, is elevate them. I had a flood when we had only been here for like, it was April of 22, so we'd been here for 3 months, and we were under about 2 inches of water down here, and like so much stuff got ruined.
Oh yeah. It's funny because my wife and I both have a fear of floods.
Yeah,
I lived in Flushing, which is the high point of Queens, and it never had a flood, and
that's probably smart.
and then during COVID, there's a town called Massapequa that was just underwater, and they were selling houses for like 40 grand, but then to insure them, you would have to spend like 80 grand to elevate them. So I'm like, it's
Right.
$110,000 for these beautiful houses, like huge houses. Like I could rent out, like I could make 2 apartments in it. But my wife was like, yeah, but you buy the water. You buy the
Yeah,
water.
exactly.
And she talked me out of it, but she ain't wrong. Now where I live is the highest point in Suffolk. Like
Oh, nice.
we just nowhere near floods. Like it's
Yeah.
funny because kids don't trick or treat because you have to like go up hills. Kids are lazy these days. I'm just showing off my Excalibur sword because
Enlightening.
you know.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that I think I don't have any swords. I think if I did, it would probably be like the stuff from like Kill Bill, like the Hanzo, Hattori, like you know, stuff that's lightweight and razor fast. You know.
Yes.
Well, here you go. Yeah,
This
there
is
you go.
freaking razor sharp. Now I know it's not like a real samurai sword, but I could probably get like 2 people before it breaks.
Yeah. Well,
And then
still,
get my
that's pretty
Excalibur.
cool.
I got my Aragorn sword over there. Not to mention my legally obtained firearms that took me 3 years to get a freaking pistol
They
permit.
took you 3 years to get.
Yeah, or they kept blaming COVID. Oh, COVID makes it back.
Wow, man! I used to have back when in California I had firearms, and I was married for about 9 years. And my ex-wife, her father, my ex-father-in-law had this ranch, so I took all my guns to his place. And then I got a divorce, and trying to get my guns back, it wouldn't happen, and it didn't happen. I've been divorced now for 15 plus years. But Georgia, man, acquiring a firearm in Georgia is quite easy.
I lived in New Mexico. You just walked in with the driver's license and you walked out.
Yeah, yeah. My stepdad sent me some stuff from California. He sent it to the gun dealer, through something called a FAA or FFA or something like that. And you go there and yeah, driver's license. They do a background check and they're like, okay, there you go. I'm like, wow, that was crazy easy.
I just want to say, Ellie, the final metamorphosis has to bring up Buttafuoco. And anytime anybody brings up Joey Buttafuoco, I have to say that Complete Auto Body, the place that he owned, was in Baldwin, where I grew up. It was like literally on my way to school.
That's the most terrible last name I've ever heard.
I know, and it's funny because that guy fixed my father's car and everything. And my connection with Buttafuoco is my brother-in-law, my ex-brother-in-law. He got arrested for drunk driving, and he was a skinny twig, and he was in jail just lifting weights, and he couldn't lift, and then the bars across his throat, and he's choking to death. His face is all red, and he just says these big hairy arms just come over and pick it up. It's like, watch it, what you do, dude. It was Joey Buttafuoco.
So no freaking way.
Brother-in-law's life.
That's awesome. Fixing cars, saving lives. He's a hero.
So my father had to tell Buttafuoco's dad that story. He goes, quite frankly, Mr. Bua, that's the best story I heard about my son ever.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been on channel. I don't think Katie's going to be hostile to me. I think Katie's cool to me, but I've been on people that are hostile to me. I'm not, I act like a dumb guy, but I'm not that dumb. Michigan is making it harder every day. Yeah, I know. Idaho, walk in, pass the ground. I don't even think you should pass a background check. I'm one of these absolutists. You know what I mean? Like,
really?
You get the country was founded on guns.
I get that. You know what? I think everybody should carry a samurai sword.
There you go.
And the reason why is because one, it takes skill, right? Because a gun, you could be a 8-year-old, as long as you got a good aim and can take that recoil, you can kill somebody. But samurai sword, I think people would be a whole lot more polite.
Absolutely. I definitely believe in armed society. I told the story 3 times already, but Friday I'm on the subway. I haven't been on the subway in New York City. Have you? I assume you've been to New York City.
I've been in New York, I think maybe 7-8 times.
Yeah. Have you been on the subways?
Yeah, been on the subways. I've been on the subways in the early 90s in the late 90s and the 2000s. So it was a whole lot better than the 90s, I'll tell you that much.
The only time the subways were any good this Monday, Katie, it was during Giuliani, but just this Friday.
Yeah, Giuliani cleaned the place up, right?
Yeah. So I get on the subway. My campaign's about to go live on Friday night, so I'm all excited. I'm on my phone, being all nerdy, looking at comic book stuff, and this big, smelly, black homeless guy sits right across from me, and just stares at me and goes, "I'm gonna kill every white man." And then he goes, "And they're women too." And I'm like, "Okay, things are gonna happen. I'm gonna be on the news. You know, maybe this will go comic books. Who knows?
I'm gonna be on the news."
You know what I mean? And I just stared this guy down, and he was looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and I just go, "Make a move, make a move." And then I look around. I'm the only white guy on the. I know I have no back, and he just got up 2 stops late. But I was like, I can't get up and leave. But that's the way this. So and then
I've been hearing crazy stories about New York, like people like getting hit with baseball bats or being pushed in front of trains.
Yeah,
a
woman was set on fire. I mean, and they got a big sign in every subway car: "Don't sleep on the subway. It
invites.
It doesn't cause theft. Thieves cause theft." Remember,
but it invites theft.
Right. But I remember when I was in college, all the girls were just like, "It doesn't matter how I dress. You shouldn't be a rapist. You shouldn't be a sexual assaulter." Like, it doesn't matter if I fall asleep on the subway. Control yourself. People sleep on the subways in Japan. It doesn't cause theft. People cause. We always dance around the right root cause. But you know what? We are completely off the topic that you are a comic book artist.
I'm something. You've been
on my show before. I talk about everything. I'm all over.
Yeah, no, that's how the show. There's a show that I'm part of. I'm taking a hiatus from called Professionals, and we always have like a topic, but we always stray off the topic because it's line of thought,
That's why I call this a conversation, and I don't know if you're familiar with Don Simpson, but he was just like he wanted an itinerary of what we were going to.
I know Don Pittsburgh staple, Megaton man. Yep. He introduced me back in night. It's so funny, man. This is like crazy. So I used to go to this show. I had my 20th birthday at the Dallas Fantasy Fair, and Jaime Mendoza, the inker, Mark Walters, they took me to my 20th birthday, or no, 19th birthday. Was it? No, my 20th birthday. Sorry, 20th birthday at Texas. I meet this lady there, very nice lady, attractive lady named Renee George. And she tells me that she and her husband are going to start this convention in Pittsburgh, right? The Pittsburgh Comic-Con. So the first one is in 1994. Don Simpson's there. John Byrne is there. Don, we all go out. Don takes us to this place down at I forget what it's called, the metal strip or metal something. But it's like the trucking district. What up, Eric? But he takes me to this place called Permanis, which in 1994 had one location, which was this sort of dingy, dirty place. But they put the slaw and the fries in the sandwich and all that. So Don introduced me to Permanis and Yingling beer. But the funny thing about this Pittsburgh Comic-Con, I went 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, bunch of years. My buddy Michael Turner and I, we had a lot of fun out at that show. 2007 is the last year that I go to the show. And then I see something on like Dateline or something. This guy, Michael George, that Renee George's husband, was arrested for this murder in 1990, where he killed his then wife for the $130,000 insurance claim, and then because he used to have a comic store, and then he used that money to start that con, right? And so then the nickname of the show was Murder Con. Anyway, I digress. You brought up Don Simpson.
My father always drilled this into me, John, don't be worth more dead than alive. MurderCon, that's funny.
Sorry, I'm reading a Slack message.
Okay, I just want to say hello to Jose Garcia. He's in the chat.
Yeah,
Jose
Jose, what's up, buddy?
Jose did one of the covers. He did the variant patriarch cover for Heroic Tales 2. So good.
Awesome.
I love Jose, and he's got an active campaign. If you want to throw the links to the chat, or Marcus finds his links. We got Zaid. Zaid has another active campaign, right?
Does he?
So, yeah,
That's awesome.
I his artwork is like supernaturally good, so good. Am I going to any cons this year? Marcus keeps inviting me down to Heroes Con by him, and he even
Heroes
said,
is awesome.
but unfortunately, I took all my time off because of my accident. I planned on going to these cons from Florida, but I don't have any time off anymore. So I planned on taking time off to fulfill my campaign. I just don't. So, I'm glad to be alive. I didn't plan on getting into a car accident. I still fulfilled my campaign, with the broken neck, but
Hey, better than me, man. Better than me. My campaign is super late.
I'm very forgiving
Yeah.
to a point. I mean,
yeah. I'm hoping when people get it in their hands, they'll be like, this is amazing. Let's make sure you're not late on the second one.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna be. That's the good thing is we've sort of future proofed what will be the next installment of the new Black Flag by having a cadence of things, so put out this big book, fulfill the book, put out a second chance campaign, put out an omnibus. While I'm campaigning the omnibus, work on the second book so I get way ahead. By the time I campaign the second book, I'll be in a good place where we can fulfill it with no snags.
So, I can't draw to save my life. I put up my sketches every once in a while to give people a good laugh. How, I know you went through you showed your hand. How long does it take you to do like a page? I see your doodles on Twitter and they're really good, but I know that.
Yeah, those are the doodles that I share on Twitter were all filmed in 2014, 15, and 16. Then it was just sort of an exercise for, I had seen this artist named Kim Jong-gi, and sorry.
Yes, Jose did the Immortal Rising. He they're right over here. Jose is super talented. I compare Jose's art to Sergio Aragonés. I know.
Yeah.
Because it plays tricks on your eyes. When you look at Jose's artwork, you almost feel that the stuff in the background is moving. And the only other artist that does that is Sergio Aragonés.
Yeah, he's great. Both of those guys are great. Oh, I see Boob Dan is in the chat. That's my man.
Okay.
Love that guy. My oldest friend in SoCal, when I first moved to join Extreme Studios in 1992, I worked in a comic book store, and he was one of the customers, and we became friends. I went to his high school graduation, and he's been to many barbecues. He's a good dude.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I live about 5 minutes away from Billy Tucci, and he's
nice.
You got to come to a barbecue. That guy.
Should.
Yeah, I'm going to say no to Billy Tucci. I met him at an open at a free comic book day. He was there.
Okay.
And I walk in and I was like, hi, and he's like, hey, John's Longbox, when are you going to have me on your channel? I was like, oh my God, Billy Tucci knows me. He's like, don't go home. We're going to a bar afterwards. I'm like, I'm drinking with Billy Tucci.
That's cool. Yeah, Billy's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
He's a whole lot of fun.
I felt like it was like the Rat Pack. I felt like I was hanging out with Frank Sinatra.
Well, he is a teen sensation. So a young Sinatra.
Hanging out with Bobby Darin then, right?
There you go. Yeah. Pat Boone.
Yeah, Pat Boone. Yeah. There you go. Yep, Club Led. Yep, this is Jose Garcia's campaign. So I wanted to talk to you about Image Comics.
Sure.
Yeah, you were there at the beginning.
Before the beginning.
Before the beginning. Okay.
Yeah, I watched the conception and the growth and the birth. Yeah. That was I feel super blessed for that to have happened. It was right place, right time sort of thing. I used to do a local TV show, not unlike Wayne's World, but it was live. It was on KMTZ Channel 19 on Wednesday afternoons. We did it after school. it was for the A and V credits, you know, and so you could choose to either be in the director's room where you're, you know, turning knobs, camera 1, camera 2. You could be the sound guy, you can be a camera person, or you could host a show. And I decided I wanted to host a show about comics, so we did a show called Comic Review for You, and we did it live, and we did some pre-taped, videotaped segments, and I had done one on portfolio reviews. This was in November of '89, and I met Rob Liefeld, and you know, as the story goes, my friend Mike Mike Gomez, we've been friends since junior high. He had bought a loose leaf sketch off of Rob, which happened to be the design of Strife, you know, from like the original design of Strife, right? And we didn't know who he was. He just looked like a cool dude with blades all over him. And Rob hadn't even, he had started New Mutants, and he was in the design phase, but he wasn't officially on New Mutants yet when I had met him.
He was a kid.
Yeah, but he was. Let's see, if I was.
Let's be realistic. He still looks young now, so
Yeah. Let's see. He would have been 22 when I met him. So yeah, I was 16. He was 22. So anyway, that particular loose leaf sketch happened to be on the back of personal stationery of Rob's. So it had his name, address, phone number, and more importantly, his fax number. In 1989, the fax was like super technology. I can send you pictures from miles away, you know.
Let me get my beeper out, and we'll fax.
Yeah, I'll give you my beeper code, you know. Anyway, I followed up with Rob, and you know, we became friends, and like it was really cool because 89, 90, 91, all of those years, I got all the inside baseball. Like I knew about when Todd was quitting Spider-Man. I knew, like, I just got all the inside baseball on all of my favorite artists, which just happened to be most of Image Comics, you know. And then in July of '91 at the San Diego Comic-Con. And what's notable about this year, outside of the fact that Terminator 2 had debuted during that time, was that this was the first year that the San Diego Comic-Con it was in the convention center, in the current place it's in now. And believe it or not, it was just halls A, B, and half of C. That was all of San Diego, not the entire thing, you know, A through K plus in the streets. It was A, B, and part of C. Anyhow, I just graduated high school. I was showing my work to Marvel, DC, continuity, anybody that would, you know, Eclipse, anybody that would look at my work.
Did you go to art school or?
No. Everything I knew was completely self-taught, from like how to draw comics the Marvel way, and like George Bridgman and stuff like that, and looking at a lot of comic books, at a lot.
Who are your big influences at this point?
Back then, I would say Art Adams, John Byrne would be like the two big ones. And then of course, you know, I really started getting into like Jim and Rob and Mark Silvestri and Barry Windsor Smith, and then when after I met Rob, and he would tell me sort of the every artist has a family tree, you know. So like when you look at Art Adams, especially the early stuff, there's a lot of Mike Kaluta, Walt Simonson, Michael Golden in his work. And I had known Mike Kaluta because I met him when I was 14 at the very first show I ever went to, but I was introduced to him and I didn't know who he was. I didn't even know he was part of the studio. I just knew that he was a cool guy. Same with Sergio Aragonés, and I have been friends since 1988.
Really?
Yeah, since 1988.
Oh man, I know Sergio. He's probably the first artist because he was in Mad Magazine.
Yeah. The sweetest dude, man.
Oh man.
Really, like he's like an uncle. So, but when I found out about like the lineages, the family tree of these artists, of course, you go and look at those and you go, oh wow, this is like the pure stuff, and but then the thing that happened once I got into the studio, um, things change, right? Like when you're all by yourself, there's no internet at this time, or at least not for common folk. So you're kind of left with your comic collection, any sort of fanzines you can get, like Comic Scene or those sort of things. That's right. Michael Golden is probably the biggest. Michael Golden, Jack Kirby, and Neil Adams. I say those three are like,
well, legends, all of them.
yeah. Well, that would be like the epicenter of all the Image guys. Like everything that happened really kind of stemmed from there.
Todd McFarlane said Michael Golden was the inspiration for that.
The webbing, the spaghetti webbing. Yeah. But the thing that ended up happening once I got in the studio is you start to stop. You start to stop listening to your instincts, and you start competing, right? And so I remember the Simon Bisley Lobo stuff had come in, and Jay Lee's, when his Youngblood Strike File stuff was coming in, and then we brought Stephen Platt in, and Jeff Matsuda too. Big ups to Jeff Matsuda. He came in, and they were doing all these sort of different things, and instead of thinking like, oh, this is me being true to myself, you're doing that like fear of missing out, like, oh shit, oh, and Rob's adding that to his work, and well, I better step up, and so a bit of homogeny started happening because we were all looking at the same stuff. There became a certain point where and you can go through all my trade paperbacks and you can tell how long I've had them. You used to have to write your name on the spine, the cover, the inside, the front page, and also a hidden page, because your shit would get jacked in the studio. And the stuff that would get jacked mostly was the very hard to get stuff, which was all the Japanese imports. So, first generation Intron Depots, Capcom Design Works, Appleseed, Bubblegum Crisis, Eat Man, Pat Labor, like just all that stuff. It was like our secret stash because we knew the world at large hadn't seen it. So if we put it in our work, then we're the guy that did it. It's like, but everybody was like, oh, jacking this and that, and then you just
it was
go.
a good thing then to work like this was like what Stan Lee always called it, the bullpen. And when I was a little kid, I always imagined like Jack Kirby was over here, and and John Romita was over here, and Sal Buscema, and they were all like working cigar smoke. But then you find out that they were working at home, and
yeah, well, that's I honestly, the bullpen has its advantages. I worked in the bullpen in 94, 95, when Rob expanded out to include Maximum Press. There was also another side of the building. So Rob, Matt Hawkins, Stephen Platt, and our director of sales, Ferdinand, all moved to that side. And I remember thinking that my work was better when it was just me, myself, and I. You know what I mean? Like when I put the blinders on, like when it was coming from in my soul and going out versus like fielding the noise of things,
Like I imagine now you're working by yourself. I mean, you're not in the studio.
Yeah, I work in a windowless room, man. And take a look around. Let me see if I can.
Yeah, I'm in a windowless room right now.
Yeah, there's my kids' art.
Oh, that's cool.
And then my one of my work computers, and then the music, and then those are all my IDW books back in that corner. But I just sit in this room. all by myself.
Back in the 50s was like the last real, back when Marvel Comics was Atlas Comics. That was the last real bullpen. And
probably, and I'm pretty sure Eisner had something going on too.
Yes.
He had. It's funny too because he had like, I think it was like 8 guys, but his roster looked like he had 20 because guys like Lou Fine were signing as different people. So it was like, you go, man, I forget, Buster Johnson is really dope, and you're like, oh, that's just Lou Fine signing a different name. You're like, oh, okay. It just gave the illusion that their studio had all these guys ready to work, but he was just cranking it out.
Do you miss that now? Do you miss like the camaraderie of a bullpen of a bunch of guys yelling and screaming? I just picture like chaos, paper airplanes flying by. You know what I mean?
I think it just depends on your role in that situation, because at Mattel it was also a very bullpen like situation, a lot of cubicles and such. But when you're in the foxhole, let's call it war, when you're in the foxhole, it's like, think of it like you're in a foxhole doing war with a bunch of people, or you're out commando style, and or you're the general that's in the tent that is making sure all the foxhole stuff is going well. I've been in all the different roles, and I if I didn't love drawing so much, I think I would make a wonderful editor, or someone like a Brian Pulido, where I get talent and I put the talent together and put out projects, because my strengths really lie in putting teams together and such.
I don't know. I've been saying this, but again, I work with a group of guys. There's like 80 guys on the job, just the electricians alone, and then we got, so every day there's hundreds of guys joking and everything. I think I would go a little bit crazy. Like when I was injured and out for 6 months, I was sitting here reading comic books, writing scripts. I was starting to get a little kooky. Yeah. I don't know. I'm an extroverted person. I'll like I said, I talk to people in the elevator. I'm not an annoying guy.
Yeah, it's weird. It depends on the situation. It's like I've had panic attacks because of social anxiety, but I've also have no problem getting on a stage in front of 1,000 people and making a fool of myself.
Yeah, I used to love.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's weird.
Like I tried stand-up comedy. I bombed. I tried acting.
Oh man.
But
hey, you know what the key to comedy is? Timing.
Right. And
I always mess that joke up. It's always better in print because you don't put a comma or a period. It just says the key to comedy. You know what the key to comedy is? Timing. Like, it's not even a question answer.
It's funny because I remember telling a joke in college and everybody laughed, and then my buddy's girlfriend with a different group of people told the same joke and nobody laughed.
Yeah.
And I was so I just to be a jerk, I told the same joke, and I got a big round of applause. And she turns to her boyfriend, "How come everybody laughed when John said the joke?" And he just said in such stead, because John's funny and you're not. And
shit! Yeah, but funny is context. Funny is setup. Funny is pauses. And selling it. Yeah, but also like just getting people to put on the get in the car and take a ride with you. That's what it is.
At work, I try to there's a couple of guys that are easy marks. I just try to make them laugh every day. Like there's a grouchy old guy, and I just go out of my way to make them laugh, but I do it with the worst possible joke that I could think of.
Yeah.
And a couple of guys like, "You got the worst jokes." I'm like, "But you're laughing." I said, anybody could get a laugh with a good joke.
That's right.
Laugh with bad. What somebody reached out to me like 6 or 7 months ago and wanted me to host a cable talk show about comic books.
Okay.
I was like, yeah, if I could quit my job and do that, talk about comic books for them. But I said, yeah, I haven't heard from them since. But
I think it's the part where you said I can quit my job. They were like, "Oh, the money's not good."
Oh yeah, no, we're not going to pay you. We just
right. Yeah, see, yeah, Ellie, He says the aristocrats or
Yeah,
aristocrats. Yeah,
yeah, the
that.
aristocrats. Yeah, I love that. I
Yeah.
remember once my brother had like a big union function and everybody's there in suits and ties and stuff. And I went because my brother like yelled at me, I gotta go, I gotta go. So I show up in a suit and tie. And as I'm walking into place, he hands me a microphone. He goes, "You're the MC."
Oh snap, dude!
That's
He
how
didn't
much,
even.
yeah.
He didn't give you any sort of like prep or nothing.
Oh, he says, "You
You
work
know
for
who would hate that? Don
what,
Simpson. I
what's
said,
that?
you know who would hate that?
Oh, Don Simpson. Yeah.
Don Simpson.
Well,
No
he told me
itinerary.
flat
Here's
out.
your mic.
Yeah.
You know.
He goes, he goes, if I told you, you would have worried about it. He goes, but now you're not worried. You just go up there. And I was like, blah, blah, blah. I had people laughing. It was fun. It was fun.
I have to give a speech on Friday.
Yeah.
What's up, Doug?
How you
Yeah,
doing, Doug?
I gotta give a speech on. I know Doug. I have to
Doug's
give
got
a.
an epic beard. You got to come on my channel just because of that beard. Oh
He's
my God.
great, man. No, his beard is worthy of
Yeah, that is
praise for sure.
epic.
There's a Middle Georgia University. I'm doing the keynote speech on Friday, and it's crazy, like thinking about it, but I'm gonna write the outline. Like I have it all in my mind, but I'm gonna write the outline like an hour before I go up.
I do this. Every time I have to do public speaking, I write an outline and then
Yeah.
I never use it. But I think writing the outline makes me think of what I want to talk.
Yeah. Well, it's like for me, it's if I write an outline, there's that structure, it's almost like telling a joke, right? Like if you want to, they're giving me an hour. Think about that. Like I have to be engaging for an hour, and try to inspire the future graduates of Middle Georgia University, that like I go, hey, it's worth it though. The thing that I think about hockey. What's up, buddy? I was just talking about you yesterday. That's crazy.
So
He's
are you an introvert or an extrovert? How would you classify yourself then?
I'm very, 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 very comfortable being absolutely alone. Like I have no problem being alone and like as long as I have a pencil and piece of paper, or more than a piece of paper, but as long as I can draw, I'm I'm good. But I do like I've had social anxiety since I was like a kid, So I don't know. It's probably a little bit of both. Some of it might have to do with control, you know, being in control of the situation. It's like you know uh, the not knowing what's going to happen gives me anxiety, or if something's really loud and I can't, like yesterday, my son had to go to this thing called Quiz Bowl, and there were probably 500 people there, and it was tough. You want to like put on noise cancellation and like just like not be there. Um, but then again, like I said, if it's like a convention or I have to give a talk to 500 people, uh, then I don't have that anxiety. I don't know. I don't. It probably boils down to control. That's it.
Yeah, I like talking to people, but it's funny because like at work, we check out at 2:15, so it's like 2:16. I'm done talking to y'all. That's my
Yeah.
time to daydream. Like
Yes.
I actually like resent if one of my coworkers is following me on the subway. I'm like, no, I got to chit chat. This is my daydream.
Man. Yeah. It's like
Yeah,
the sheepdog and the coyote. Like, hey,
yeah.
Ralph.
I'm clocked out, guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm done. And then you got to chit chat. And I'm like, this is why I think about superheroes and laser beams and stuff. I'm always daydreaming.
What kind of stuff was inspiring to you? Like when you were coming up, you said you're 56, so you were. What year did you start? Like I would say I got bit by the bug, like really bit in '84. Like I dabbled, but '84 was the year for me.
Well, I'm the fifth kid of seven. So my
Oh,
four
okay.
sisters. There was always
Wow.
comics in the
Well,
house.
there's 5 of us, but 7 is that's a lot.
Irish mom, Italian dad, both Catholic. There's
Every
kids.
sperm is sacred.
Yeah, exactly. Every and there was always comics, always Mad magazine in the house. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
and I give people the year of 1975. You know, but
75.
yeah, that's when I started getting obsessed with comics. Like,
So you were like 6,
uh, yes, I
6
was
or
born in
7.
'68, so yeah, about 8, 6.
Okay. Yeah. So it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I was. My mom would give me $1 every day for lunch money, and
Yeah.
I'll never forget because
That's
I
a lot of money.
yeah, I was teaching myself like economics. Like a pizza bagel was 25 cents, so I would get 2 pizza bagels. That's 50 cents, and then the chocolate milk was 20 cents. So that's 70 cents. That left me 30 cents. And a comic book at the time was a quarter. So I would buy
Yeah.
a comic book, but on Friday I would get 2 comic books. Like that's how,
Yes.
you know.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
and the guy at the candy store, he had a stack of comics for me. You know what I mean? Because you know how it is before the comic book store. If you missed Micronauts #7, that was it. You
Oh,
were done.
you were
You know?
done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got Micronauts #8, and you just had to fill in the blanks. You know.
Yeah. I had just posted a book the other day on Twitter. It was the Marvel's handbook to the Marvel Universe, the official handbook or whatever.
Yeah, I
Marvel
love
Universe,
those.
the official handbook. It was 85, right?
Right.
So like I had picked up comics at this place called Quick Stop, and yeah, very much like you said, if you miss something, you're screwed. Uh,
And you didn't
but
know when it was coming out. You were like, "What do you mean Avengers Annual came out?" Like,
right, yeah, you didn't know, and but I had no idea that a comic book store was even a concept,
right.
you know. And I remember I was going through the Hulk to Gardner, uh, issue 5, and I'm reading, and it said like first appearance Iron Man, whatever, you know. And I'm like going on the spinner rack, and I'm like, oh man, this Iron Man's way ahead of where they said. So, when you're a kid, you think, hey, I could go, and they got it in the back because they got everything in the back. Like when
Right.
you're a kid, that's where everything is.
Yeah, it's
You
in the
know,
back.
hey, you got any more of that? That's whatever in the back. And he's like, he explained to me like the periodical system and how they would drop things off and pick things up, and you know, and once they were gone, they were gone. And I was really bummed out. And I just remember some guy saying, if you want back issues, you need to go to the comic book store. 2 words, back issues, huh?
Yeah.
Comic book store. Are you fucking with me, man?
Yeah.
Like, did you just say what I thought you said?
Yeah.
And he told me where it was. Turns out, what up, Brian? He's a good dude. I love Brian, man.
Yeah. And his book, Six Gun Gorilla, is awesome.
It's all. I got it right. I got it right there in my room, my reading room over here. Uh, yeah, and uh, the comic book store was two doors away from the arcade I used to play at.
Oh,
Had no idea it was there because, you know, you get Pac-Man fever, or like in my case it was Galaga.
right.
You can't, you got blinders, you know. You're just like, I'm going to play Galaga. Not like Land of Neva was. What the fuck is that? Like that was what it was called. Like who
Plus,
knows what that is?
if it's like a typical old comic book store, it didn't say comics anywhere in the window. You didn't know.
No, it was
Yeah.
just called Land of Neva was.
Yeah.
That's what it was called. And but when I went in, man, I remember yeah, exactly. It was just like that. You just go and you're like, they weren't on spinners. They were all on these like long racks.
And that's when I learned that they make specialty boxes.
Yeah.
And
And bags and boards. Yeah. And
I
I'm
remember
looking
my
at the
comic
wall.
store, it opened up, and I saw it coming soon, and I was like, it was
Yeah.
called Incredible Pulp and Baldwin, and I borrowed Tommy Allen's bicycle to ride there,
Yes.
and then I
Thank you,
went in
Tommy
and I
Allen.
stayed in there for hours, and when I came out, Tommy Allen's bicycle was gone, and I had to walk home. So I remember Tommy's like, my bicycle got stolen. I'm like, oh, that sucks.
Oh shit.
So
You borrowed it and it got stolen.
Yeah,
so technically that guy stole his bike.
Tommy, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I just remember also looking up on the wall, they had back issues that were expensive. You know, I thought like again, I didn't know anything.
Right.
And I remember my eye went right like a tractor beam to Amazing Spider-Man 121. It's a yellow cover. It says somebody's gonna die, and it was $27. You know, and I'm thinking, holy shit, $27. That's a lot of money. You know, and I'm asking James and Rod were the guys that worked there. I'm like, yo, who dies in that? And he's like, I'm not telling you. You don't know that story. I was like, no, who dies in that? He's like, you're going to have to buy it. And I was like, I don't have $27. He's like, we have something called layaway.
Mike's spinner.
Yeah. It's right here. There it is.
Yep.
There's my spinner rack.
Both got spinner racks. I see old Avengers. Is that Avengers Annual 10?
Yeah, that's a facsimile. I've got a real one in there too. There's tons of stuff in there. I got old Daredevils and like Steranko and yeah. But I ended up doing layaway. You know, I learned about layaway and I started mowing lawns, and I talked about this on my stream the other day, but I started mowing lawns to kind of like you were collecting the money from your lunch money. I never got lunch money, but I did get like $5 a month from the people whose lawns I mowed. And there were a couple of people, and I got that. Spidey broke my heart, of course, Forbidden Planet was amazing. Same with Jim Hanley's Universe. That's another place that was great.
Yeah. I worked nearby them. It was so much fun. Yeah. I remember my comic book store. I told this story a few times. I walked in and he had a glass booth, and Amazing Fantasy 15, $60.
Yeah.
Uncanny X-Men, $60. Fantastic Four #1, $60. And I'm like looking at this, like even to a 10-year-old, that was expensive, but it wasn't beyond the realm of possibility. Yeah. And I just remember looking at him going, who would ever spend $60 on a comic book? And I'm so mad because I think I had a bank account with like $360. I could have went right to the bank and got, a fortune in comics.
I had in 1988, no, it was 89. It was the WonderCon. I was holding in my hands, which was like a very fine copy. Very fine, like it was really great shape. There was no slabbing back then, but it was in VF, and it was $3,500. And I was thinking, man, I need a car, but I really want this book.
Which book was it?
Amazing Fantasy 15.
Oh my God, you should have bought it.
I know, but when you're 15, it's either a car or a comic, and
it's like, because let's face it, you're 15, you get a car, it's like, I'm not going to get laid with a comic book, but I'm going to
it depends. Depends on the crowd you hang out with,
Back then, man, in the 80s, it ain't like today. The girls did. I hid.
Oh yeah.
I hid.
You had to hide the fact that the other thing that was like, again, just one of those amazing I don't know, blessings, like I can say all the great things that have happened in my life weren't of my own plans. I remember I was skateboarding one day. This is 87, 88. I'm skateboarding. I had been taking a silk screening class, the cutting ruby lith and lacquer and things, no photo emulsion stuff. And I happened upon this silk screening place downtown. In the town I grew up in. It was called Labor of Love Graphics. And I went in there asking if I could get a job because, hey, I know silk screening. Yeah. And, whatever. And they thought I was hilarious, because there's this 14-year-old kid. And I'm like, I know how to do emulsion. Or not emulsion. I said, lacquer, lacquer, and they're like, yeah, we do photo emulsion, kid. I was like, oh. They're like, but we do need someone to clean screens. And I was like, okay, like whatever, I'll take it. And I learned that there were a bunch of comic nerds that worked there, like, and like dudes in their 30s and 40s, and I found out that they had this club called American Fun. And the way it used to work, I don't know how it works now, but back in the day, there was several. There was Otherworld, Capital, Diamond, a lot of
Right.
distribution, right? And all you had to do to have a store, quote unquote, is have a minimum order, right? So what we did with this group of guys from American Fun and me and my buddies at school, because I brought them in, is we would go through the catalog, write a list of what we want, and throw our cash in, and we would be buying our books at 45%.
Oh, nice. That's
Or
clever.
no, it was 55. Sorry, it was 55%.
That is clever.
Yeah, and so because we too Diamond appeared to be a store because of how much we bought collectively, and
Clever.
that supercharged my buying power. You know, I was like, hell yeah, I'm getting that, and that, and plus I had extra dough for like back issues. I bought like this one dude's collection at a garage sale that had like so many Daredevils and Spider-Man, and you know, I can say I had a very, just looking back on it, like at the time you don't know what's happening. You know, we are living the good old days. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
But when I look back, because when you're a kid and even when you're an adult, you're like, oh man, I wish I could have been a fly on the wall when the Beatles recorded such and such. Man, I wish I could have been a fly on the wall when this and this. And then now that I've been in the business for 34 years, I'm like, yo, I've been that fly on the wall. Like I've seen and been part of things that now stepping outside of and looking back, I'm like, I've had a great life.
Yeah. You've seen
You
all
know
that.
what I'm saying?
You've seen that rise of Image.
Yeah. Well, all kinds of stuff, man. I seen the rise of Image, the fall of Image. I got to watch, the Rob Liefeld, his pretty much his life story. I met him when he was 22. He's like 58 now.
Yeah.
Or 57. Sorry if his birthday's not till October. But yeah, it just watching that evolution. Also in film, working in storyboards and stuff. Some of the projects that I've been part of have been well, legendary, but also notorious. I want to take this second to thank the makers of Snow White, and I'll tell you why. Because they dethroned Dragon Ball Evolution as the worst movie on Rotten Tomatoes, and that feels really good because I worked on Dragon Ball Evolution, and I don't have to like carry that burden anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you
Yeah.
ain't
Well,
first, you're last.
you're the last one on the line that's not moving, and somebody gets behind you.
Uh
You're
huh.
like, hey, all right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I started losing my hair when I was 20. Yeah, it started receding here, and then it started coming this way. They wanted to meet in the middle, and so uh yeah.
Guys, ask a question. You met Snoop Dogg and Jay Leno?
Okay, I'll tell this story. It's a good one. Um, when I was in California, before herbs were legal out there, we had a network of friends, not unlike American Fun, that would put. I have apologized, Perth, several times. I have. Hi, baby.
Oh, my baby.
My sweet girls giving me a kiss. Good night.
My baby doe.
I love you. You going night night?
That's too cute.
All right.
Chicken jockey.
Okay, I love you, sweetheart. So we used to have like a bunch of us put together and buy cannabis in large volumes, and I would drive.
Let me guess. You got a group together and you got a discount, just like the comic books.
Exactly right. That's where I learned this skill. Yeah, because buying an ounce costs this much, but buying a pound is totally different.
We'd all get stoned and read comics. Let's.
Yeah. So and so it was my job to go up to up in way Northern California, Humboldt, where the good stuff was, and go pick it up and then come back. Well, one of my friends, his name is Ray Brady. He's an incredible guitarist, musician, producer. He was the music director and guitarist for Ashlee Simpson, you know, the girl from the Saturday Night Live fiasco. Well, they were playing Leno that day that I was driving back, and I got a call from him and Matt Yackey saying, "Dude, you got to come down to NBC. The you know, we're gonna be on Leno and yada yada." And I was like, "Oh, okay, it's on my way home," you know. So I get to NBC. Ray's got this wild look in his eyes, and he's like, "Dude, guess who the other guest is?" And I was like, "Who?" He's like, "It's Snoop Dogg." I was like, "Oh, no way." He's like, "You want to go see him?" I said, "Yeah, let's go." So we go to Snoop's dressing room, his green room, and he's in there. And at this time, I forget. I'm not even sure what I was doing at the time, because I introduced myself as the artist of Wolverine because it was something he would know. You know, it's like, "Oh yeah, I draw comics for Marvel, blah blah blah," and I'm like, and I could see his guy rolling, and this was around the time when Snoop stopped smoking, right? Like allegedly, he publicly said, "I ain't smoking no more," whatever, you know.
I remember that 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. But it never happened, right? So his guy's rolling, and I go, "Oh man, Snoop, I thought you weren't smoking." I said, if I knew you were here and smoking, I wouldn't have left the hash in the car, because I got some hash too. And he says, "Well, that ain't gonna do no good in your car now, will it?" And I was like, "I am totally picking up what you're putting down." And I was like, "I'll be right back." And I like fat like the streak of light was there, back with like a handful of green nugs and a little stick of hash. And I was like, "Here you go." He goes, "Well, let's go." And so his guy rolled him up, and we're all smoking in his room. Jay Leno comes in, and it's like just hot box, and Jay's laughing. He's like, I thought you didn't smoke anymore, Snoop," you know. And he's like, "Come on, Jay." So the show's about to start. We're on the side stage, and we're blasting, and Jay does his monologue, and then he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, Snoop Doggy Dogg." And Snoop comes out all swarthy and swaggery, you know. And he sits down and he goes, "So Snoop, I've heard you quit smoking weed." and Snoop goes, "Shit." Just like that. And Jay was like, "What?" He goes, "Can we start over, man? I'm going to need like 15, 20 minutes. And Jay was like, "Yeah, that's fine," you know. So they had to stop the show, give Snoop some time to gather himself, and then redo the intro. I called up my brother and my buddy up in Humboldt, and I was like, "Dude, you just took out Snoop Dogg. You gotta watch Tonight Show tonight," you know. And if you guys want to see that episode, even though the redo is the only thing that ever made it, you can still see how faded Snoop is. So just look up Snoop Dogg, Ashlee Simpson, Jay Leno. And that was the night. But yeah, we actually took Snoop Dogg out with that Northern Cali kick-ass stuff, you know.
he smoked Snoop under
the and there was a second time I smoked with Snoop where everything was fine, except I had a almost permanent giant black man's hands pressed into my chest, because we were at this thing called Jingle Ball, which is like a iHeartRadio concert series or whatever. And again, my friend Ray was playing, and Maroon 5 and Snoop and Stevie Wonder, like, you know, like it's just this sort of crazy amount of acts that go out. And so I see Snoop, and he goes, "Oh man, it's Dan the comic book man." I'm like, "Oh shit, yeah." That's why I said, I was like, "Oh shit." He's like, "Yo, come on, man, let's go smoke." So I'm like following him, and I'm like the last one. I'm like kind of like, yay, I'm gonna go
I'm
smoke a
cool.
snoop
I'm
again.
on the Snoops boys.
Yeah, yeah. And like they all go in, and I'm like, ha ha ha. This just giant
Where you
hand.
going?
Where do you think you're going? And I'm like, Snoop, like Snoop, like just out of breath. And he's like, yo, man, let him in. He's with us. He's like, oh man, sorry. But I mean, that guy was just like, you know, Dragon Ball, or you know, or what was that, the palm in Kung Fu Hustle, you
Yeah.
know, the that killed the toad. That's what it felt like to my chest. He had good bodyguards.
Yeah.
Took the wind out of me, and then we refilled my lungs with some smoke, and the rest was a good time.
Yeah. That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
I have to do another show at 8:30 over at RJ for the Fourth Age. We do comic book.
Hey man, it's cool. I've had a really good time.
Anytime
You're a
you
lot
want
of
to come
fun,
back,
man.
I just talk with people about anything. So
Yeah.
anything you didn't get a chance to say, anything you want to push, anything you want to say before
Let's see.
you want to come back,
I
doors
would
open.
love to come back, but this is what I'd like to say.
Sure.
To anybody who wants to be a comic creator, you can do it. You absolutely can do it. There's nothing to stop you from doing it. You have more resources now than any of us ever had. You know, we had How to Draw Comics from Our Way, George Bridgman's Complete Guide to Drawing the Human Figure and Comics. You guys have YouTube. You have guys teaching you how to draw. There's draw streams you can watch. And also there's the people like myself. I answer emails. I answer you know, messages, as long as they're, you know, constructive and have stuff. And eventually I'll do some portfolio reviews. But the point is that that could be it. Logic's Finest is asking 5 characters and 5 favorite artists. I'll start with artists. Otomo, Mobius, Arthur Adams, Jack Kirby, Michael Golden. And if I had to take one off, I would take off Art Adams, and I'd put Frank Frazetta. But we're talking artist, comic artist, right?
Right.
And then characters, I'd have to rank them, I guess. Number 1 is Spider-Man. Number 2 is Doctor Strange.
Oh, okay.
Number 3 is Daredevil. Number 4 would be Batman. And then number 5, if I'm allowed to pick, it says characters. I'm sticking to comics because there's other characters I like, of course. I could name all of my own, but I would say Green Goblin, like the OG Green Goblin, like
So you're a
Ditko.
Ditko fan then, huh?
Oh God, he is that's the mate. Like if you're a Spidey fan, that is the uncut smack, baby. That's like the good stuff.
Everybody loves Ditko, but I think people don't talk about his design as much as they should.
Dude, my 2 first favorite characters are Ditko characters.
You know,
And I don't think that is a weird hell yeah. I could talk about Spider-Man all day. I could talk about how they ruined him. I can talk about how they can fix him. Yeah, Spidey is the guy, especially the DNA of those first 38 issues. That was really the blueprint of good solid. I mean, every comic I did as a kid, I did anybody that finds these, good on you. Back in 1989 was my first professional work. I wrote and drew a daily strip in my local newspaper called The Adventurer, and very, very much based on the origin of Spidey. You know, the whole guilt thing. You know, while I was out doing this happened, and it's my fault. And
the origin of Spider-Man is literature, if you ask me.
It is, and just that.
Yeah, current Marvel Logic's finds. Current Marvel doesn't understand, and I will extend that. Current Marvel doesn't understand the nature of a hero.
Well, also they've gone too far, and almost to the point where it's, for lack of a better phrase, cancerous, where it's like it's so integrated and tightly woven that to untangle it would be really difficult. And then these full restarts, nobody wants those. Like, You know what I'm
been
saying?
pitching my story to Fix Marvel for years. Yeah, and if you have 20 minutes, I'll tell you someday. But
Yeah, yeah.
but
Are you gonna go to the New Jersey show?
I would. When is it? It's next week, right?
No. It's the weekend after Heroes. It's like the last weekend of. It's the same one I met you at. It's the last weekend in June.
Yeah, I would like to go again, and if Graham Nolan has another,
He
cigar,
will. That's the thing. I know Graham will be there. Andy's going to be there. I know Billy's going
I
to
got
be
to
there.
get somebody to drive with. Since my accident, I'm scared to drive.
Yeah.
Last time I went with, I don't know if you know Jesse Blaze Snyder. Turns out he lives right by me. Me and him drove.
Ma, what was the name of Tommy? The guy you stole his bike? Not stole his bike. Borrowed his bike.
Tommy Allen. Yeah,
Bring Tommy Allen. You know what I'm saying? Like call him up.
I haven't seen Tommy Allen.
You're like, hey, you know what'd be funny as hell is he just happened to watch this show and was like,
yeah, what's this? Oh, John, I remember.
No. You owe me a bike, bro.
Yeah.
What was it? Was it like a Huffy? A
Huffy.
Huffy. Okay,
Yeah.
Pro Thunder probably.
We had the Huffies. We had the pads on the.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine got.
I was a BMX kid.
Garage, so I borrowed his. And it's funny because Larry, the guy who owned that comic store, he was just like, yeah, bicycles got stolen every day. Kids would come and just leave their bicycles and then look at comics, and then they would come out.
Well, what if dude knew this? Guy can't put a bike rack.
Well, you can't because there's a sidewalk. You know what I mean? Like,
so you could just roll them up, and then somebody walks by. Skateboard.
The city wouldn't let them put a.
Yeah.
When you live in these suburban towns, so many rules.
Yeah. Have a great stream wherever you're going.
Yeah, I'm going. So if we got a bunch of people in 3 minutes, I'm going to be live over on RJ from the Fourth World. So if you go to YouTube, the Fourth World, it's basically going to be me and RJ talking about my comic. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Dan, come back. I asked you a little bit about Image. We really didn't talk. I got so much to still talk to you.
We could do a part 2, whatever you want, man. We'll figure it out. Yeah. Really good hanging with you.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see that surgery took, man. That was scary when you were telling me all that.
Yeah. This one still has a little wobble, but we're good.
Okay. So cool.
We're good.
See you, everybody. All right, bye-bye. I'll be 2 minutes over at RJ in the Fourth Age. I'll talk your brains out some more. Bye-bye, everybody.
See you, folks.